Ooh, good smells in there. Yeah. Yes. Oh, it's stuck to you. It's stuck to you. The alpaca. my wool, my bats, these are all Irish fibres, and these I got for the Spinalong for socks with Cary of My Wool Mitten here on YouTube. And she was saying she likes to spin, her sock mix would be mostly wool and a little bit of alpaca. So I picked up some Irish alpaca, and this is off of Owen Higgins up in Tuam in County Galway. Lovely white. And then I got a few bats of Sandra's own sheep, Sandra King's own sheep, Meet the Wool. And yes, someone's very interested. And she has Wensleydales and Wensleydale crosses. And so I bought some of those ones that she's hand dyed as well. And I got a new pair of hand cards, which was amazing. Is that nice? Is that nice for doggies? Yeah. She loves to check out the wool. Yeah. Where's the wool? You like wool? Oh, wool is nice, isn't it? So anyway, yeah, so these are from her Wensleydale crosses, and the color is cornflower. And I have 2 50-gram bats and 1 20-gram bat, and I have then the 50-gram bat of alpaca. And the alpaca bats there run between 5 and 6 euros for 50 grams. The natural color fiber of wool, natural colored wools are 4 euros for 50 grams. The dyed ones are about 5. And then this little one was 2 because it's like sort of a little leftover guy. So yeah, I'm excited to spin for socks with my wool mitten for those. And we start tomorrow, Friday, which is Distaff Day, January 7th. So kind of appropriate. Brand new. I owned a pair of handcarders before, which were secondhand. And they're fairly pricey too. These don't have a brand on them. I don't know where they came from. But they were in the box and they were never ever used. There's not a trace of fibre on them at all. I wanted to partake in Cary of My Wool Mitten, her Spinalong. I needed to card some of this alpaca that I got up at Irish Fibre Crafters with the Wensleydale cross mix that I also got up at Irish Fibre Crafters. So I went up to buy this wool on this alpaca fibre, and I said to Sandra, can I borrow a pair of hand carders because they have several up there for when they're teaching? And she said, sure, yeah. And then she had 3 great big tubs of I wonder if you can see me before I tell this story. You can see my face now. And of course, Chef is going to come because, you know, if I sit somewhere where he can possibly get with me, that's important. Hi, darling. So yeah, so that was yesterday. It was the 6th of January, which is in Ireland, it's Nollaig, mBan, which means Women's Christmas. And it's traditionally the day where men waited on the women and did all the household chores, and the women enjoyed their own little Christmas. So another name was Little Christmas, basically, which would probably be eating the leftovers. Anyhow, nowadays that tradition has been revived in that it's tending to be a day where you get together with your other women friends. And I usually go to Kilkenny and meet up with a bunch of my women friends from there over at Susanna's on the Black Sheep Farm. But with COVID, that wasn't really possible. So I just went up to Irish Fibre Crafters where Sandra was there. And then the other Sandra Marshall, who does a lot of those wonderful felted things, also showed up just to bring some items in. So we actually had our own little women's Christmas. And beyond that, and of course we kept our masks on the whole time and socially distanced. So, but beyond that, a day or two before, at some point before, a lady, a very kind lady, and I don't remember her name now. I think it was like Danielle or something like this. But anyway, she contacted Sandra and said, could you guys use some craft supplies? I want to pass them on. And so Sandra, of course, was like, we sure could. So she went up there and picked up 3 big plastic tubs, which are wonderful just in themselves. For crafters, as you know, it's great storage, especially for fibery items to keep moths out. Anyway, I have a story about moths. So she had brought them, and her husband had brought them into Irish Fibre Crafters. And while we were, the 3 of us there, we were like, let's open these tubs and really explore what's in there now. So it was like Christmas because there was a lot of fabric. Sandra's going to make a quilt. Then when she's picked her fabrics, I'm going to go in as well to pick some fabrics to start my sewing journey. And then the rest will be kept, again, for other crafters to make use of. But there was just a brown box in there. And I had said, literally like 10 minutes before to Sandra, can I borrow some hand carders? And she was like, yeah. So I'd taken hand carders to borrow. And I opened the box, or one of us opened the box, I can't remember who, and what was in there but these brand new hand carders. So Sandra's like, those are obviously meant for you. So absolutely delighted. So I was really excited to have those. But in there was felting things. I mean, this woman is obviously a craft. There were sewing machines. So like all of these things are going to go to good homes, to crafters that can use them, to be used in workshops at Irish Fibre Crafters. So it was really Women's Christmas for us. So yeah, as fellow crafters, I'm sure you can greatly appreciate that the joy we had looking through all these things. And speaking about the woman who donated all these things so kindly, and just really wishing her all the best and so grateful for it. I'm just realizing I can't remember now the last time I have hand carded, because I was using the drum carder when Irish Fibre Crafters opened, and I was up there volunteering all the time the first year. And then of course COVID hit, so I have not hand carded since 2018. So I'm sitting here thinking, I don't really remember how to do this yet. Because what I want to do is I'm going to mix in this alpaca into this fiber here, into this Wensleydale cross. And I can't remember what her Wensleydales are crosses with. Let's look at the fiber in that anyway. Let's look at the staple length. Look at that. So what I'm hoping is that it's got a nice long staple length, but not like super crazy. So yeah, there we go. So what's that? About 4 inches. And I think that's actually what Cary was kind of saying. Yeah. So I think what's that? Between 4 and 5 inches there. Yeah. So, and it's boing, it's very bouncy. Woo! Yeah, so it's probably 4 inches. I'm not really good with all that. Is that 4 inches? I think I got here. Yeah, I got the wool out. Isn't that nice? Yeah. Alrighty, so I've refreshed my memory about how I want to use the hand carders. I have my assistant here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start putting fiber on the combs, mixing a mix of this alpaca. And this alpaca is Irish alpaca. And Evan is the farmer. Now he doesn't have all the alpacas himself. He has a lot of Svart Bloss and Jacob and different sheep. But he went around to different alpaca farmers that had sheared and wanted to sell their fleece. And so he gathered up so much. He drove up to Irish Fibre Crafters with it. And Sandra was saying he could barely see out of the car. It was so full of bags of alpaca fiber. And so he brought that over. And this is, so it's just a mixed bag. It's the first time he'd ever gotten it. So it's not necessarily graded as some of the other alpaca fiber is. So this bat was a little bit cheaper. Alpaca is great because it doesn't usually have VM in it, vegetable matter, because it just doesn't cling the way it does to sheep's wool. This prep is a bat, and I have a feeling he has a carder. He does have a carder, that's right. He's got a big electric drum carder, so he's carded this himself, and I've been messing with it, so it's kind of come apart. But this sort of prep, so this is Sandra from her own sheep. So she's carded this herself on her drum carder. So these preparations are called bats, and they're just really great big sheets of the fiber that has been carded out on a machine that I say machine, but for home crafters and the crafters that send their fiber to Irish Fibre Crafters, it's usually an apparatus really that just you turn it with it's hand cranked. Some are electric, but they're small, like maybe 1.5 feet wide. Has a lot of these little, what are these called? Like little teeth like this. And it rolls it out and spreads it and fluffs it up. But what it does is it makes a woolen prep, which means the fibers are generally kind of disarrayed. They're not all as smooth in the same direction as when you get like combed top, when you use hand combs, or when you have combed top that you order. A lot of commercial fiber for spinning and stuff that you order is combed top. So these are bats. So these are more of a woolen prep. And I'm going to spread them out so I can mix these two fibers together on my hand cards. And then I'm going to pull it off, not quite into a roving, like I don't have a diz. I'm not going to do it that way. And when you do that, anyways, it's probably getting a bit technical, and I'm not really great at explaining things. And my knowledge comes and goes because it depends how much I'm actually working and spinning. So I'm just going to start throwing some fiber on my cards. And I suppose what I'm aiming for is sort of, Cary was saying she likes for her socks that she likes to have sort of 30% of the alpaca and then 70% of the wool fiber. So, I'll kind of go for ish around that. And if I find any neps in here, anything like that, like there's a little nep there because, this is just, it's not mill prepped. It's just, done by us crafters. Your socks, because you're trying to spin thin, which we'll see how I do with that. And so let me start putting some, and this is not a tutorial because I haven't done this for so long, so I'm really not saying do as I do or even as I say, because that's probably not right either. But if you just want to have a look because it's relaxing. Okay, I've carded, really just sort of blended up some little bumps there. They're all which sort of way, so they're really woolen prep than semi-worsted like you would want with the roving. So anyway, this is my wheel. I sold my traditional wheel about 2 years ago because I just found it aggravated my spine too much, unfortunately. And I got this Ashford Kiwi 3, and I have used it several times, but I haven't used it a whole lot because, you know, for life things, I just haven't spun a whole lot in the past 2 years. So each time I kind of go on it, I have to, in some ways, relearn it. So I'll be doing that today. And I'm just getting ready to watch now. Cary of My Wool Mitten has just put up, or recently put up today, the part 2 of her Spinning for Socks Spinalong video. I'm going to watch this and then I'm going to start my little spin. Yeah. Okay, so I've just spun a little bit and I did a ply back test. If I'm going to aim for fingering, I think I'm doing a pretty good job, because you can see here, this is 2 plies and there's still room to add the 3rd ply. So like if you put it there, I can still see plenty of white. I don't know if that's showing up. So it will be adding the 3rd ply. If I keep going in this way, it'll be pretty close to fingering weight. Maybe it would be a sport depending how I'm going, and that's okay. So yeah, I'm happy about that. For having a long break from spinning and getting back into it there seems pretty good. Okay, I'm going to take a moment and show you my tale of woe with some of my fiber. So if you're easily grossed out by squirmy things, don't look. Oh, Shep. So when I was looking for fiber that I might spin, I went through my stash. And these all are from a supplier in the UK. And I had ordered a whole bunch of different breed ones for a breed study. So these were one of probably 20. But these 3 must have been from the shipment, because I've never opened them and they're in sealed plastic. When I looked at them, they'd had moths. And you could see the frass in there where they've eaten, and then they actually ate their way out. They ate through the plastic there and here, and there's one of them where I won't find it, but there was a dead one that didn't manage to eat out of the plastic, and so there was a dead one. So I just threw them out here, and then it was a very hard frost. I mean, they were well gone, because I hadn't taken them out like that to look at them probably, well, it was probably nearly a year. So they had time to do their thing. So that means the little moths somehow got out into that room, not my yarn stash room, but it's just sort of the extra room. And I do remember seeing a moth in there, but I thought maybe the moth had come in and I got it. So anyways, but yeah, so that was kind of a horror story. I was very horrified to think about how they could chew out of the plastic then, and then, infect other things if they were then to mate and lay eggs in other fiber. I don't think the moth itself can chew through the plastic, but I think, when they come out of their cocoon, obviously they need, I don't know, but they need a way to come out of that cocoon. So do they have an egg tooth or something? Here's my ignorance, I don't know. But anyways, yeah. And I know I was talking to Alexandra of November Woods Fiber Company, and she said, yeah, because when she lived in London once, there was a carpet there with, the plastic backing and everything, and they ate that. They ate the plastic of the backing and all, so they can eat anything. Anyway, and I was so upset because this is BFL. It's 3 shades of BFL. Sad face. Sad face. I mean, I'm starting a spin today. Last night I started spinning sort of for real for the sock spin along with Cary of My Wool Mitten. I've decided to just go ahead and just use the Wensleydale cross wool from Sandra's sheep that I got up at Irish Fiber Crafters. I'm really enjoying spinning it. But for whatever reason last night, my test spin did really well and I was spinning very fine, and then I decided that actually what I needed to do was to spin a little bit thicker, because I'd actually stopped enjoying knitting socks with fingering if I don't have to. I've been doing it with DK, so I thought maybe I'd try for a sport weight. But I just was so uneven last night, and I really should have stopped the spin because you can see some points there. I mean, that's just ridiculous. See. And I went and I bought, I'll tell you about what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to do a crepe yarn, or crepe. Crepe? It's spelled the same anyway. I went up to Irish Fibre Crafters and I got another bat of the Wensleydale, and I've kind of separated because this is going to be one ply. I have another ply there, obviously on that bobbin I'm spinning at the minute. And then the third ply, I'm going to use this alpaca. So this is, again, lovely, lovely Irish alpaca. This is a really nice batch. It's 100 grams. It's from a very local, it's from Galway Bay Alpacas right there near the shop of Irish Fibre Crafters. And it's all first quality, and it's so soft and lovely, nice staple length, no shortcuts or anything like that. Like the shearers really knew what they were doing as well. So I'm thinking, so with the crepe yarn, what you can do is you spin. So now you're going to probably get lost if you're not a spinner. It was something I never heard of before, and I was watching Cary and her channel, My Wool Mitten, and she was talking about some different resources that you could use, and one of them was the socks issue of Ply magazine, and that's available online as a digital. So I bought that one. I didn't have that issue, and I've been reading through it. I'm about halfway through, and I really learned some interesting things. And one article was really great. Maybe I'll turn this around. So one article I found really especially helpful in what I wanted to do was where the spinner spun a whole bunch of different plies and construction of plies, and then sanded them with a belt sander. I guess anyways, a sander, and sanded them to see how long it would take for the first hole, and then she also sanded continuously for 2 hours to see what the wear would be like. And the crepe yarn is a 3-ply that you spin 2 of the singles S-ply, which is the opposite way that you would usually spin them, and then you spin 1 of the singles Z-ply. And then I may be saying this wrong. So then you ply the 2 S-ply singles together on the Z, and then you ply the 3 of them all together on the S, the direction that you normally ply. I may have that a bit backwards, so definitely look that up for yourself. Don't go on what I've said. But that crepe yarn did really well in the test. Now, it wasn't the best, but it did really well, and it just sounded interesting to me, and I just really wanted to try it. So I'm also thinking that one of those threads, like I said, one of the singles will be of the alpaca. I had thought about, well, what I was going to do is I was going to card the alpaca with the wool, because I think that's, having actually never spun for socks before, but I would imagine that would be the best way to do that. But with my wonderful hand cards, which I'm so grateful for, but it was just, because I had like 300 ounces or grams of wool, it was just like, yeah, I just fell at that hurdle. I was like, this is too much of a pain to do with hand cards, and I was missing having a drum carder that I could access. So I'm sure I could have gone up to Sandra and asked her if I could borrow hers. But anyway, so I've decided to do it this way, where I'm going to have one of the plies be alpaca, and it's for sort of strengthening. So we'll see. Although the wool is a Wensleydale cross, so the staple length is probably 4 or 5 inches. And it's really fun to spin as well. And I haven't tried this alpaca yet, but I'm excited. So anyways, that's what I'm doing. But and I've been watching, it just went off there, but I've been just started watching Knitting the Stash with Melissa, and her husband Spencer is on, and they're so cute together, and he's, they're always laughing and having a good time. And she's starting to talk about the yarn, having your project queue versus calling it, I think, the project pool. That idea sounds so wonderful to me. The episode is 117, project queue or project pool. And I've obviously just not too far in it. They're just starting to talk about that. But I love that idea, because I think that it can really be good for maybe our mental health. And instead of thinking up of, a queue stretching off into the distance, and you have to do this and this and this. rather a pool that you dip into. I suggest you check out her channel. There's a brand new pattern just out that she has kits for with her small batch farm yarns that she sells on her website. And it's a cowl. It's called the Fire and Ice Cowl. And she's saying it's easy enough if you're just starting with lace and cable. So that sounds really interesting as well. Okay, anyhow, you can check that out if you would.
Good.
So the spears that he's referring to.
So it's dark out now. Tom's just over there making a little dinner. I've spun a fair bit more. I've kind of given up trying to make a thicker yarn because this yarn, the way I'm spinning it, it just wants to be thin. So it may turn out that the 3 plies of the crepe yarn make it still just a fingering. We'll see, because I don't know how the alpaca is going to behave. But yeah, so it'll probably end up being, sorry that I'm in the shadow, DK to sport. And that's fine, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just having fun, enjoying the spinning, and yeah, enjoying making and practicing. So I will keep you updated, and do follow along with Cary of What My Wool Mitten. She's the one doing this. She's the one with all the really good informative videos. And this is just my progress. So my first bobbin, and this is a big bobbin. So the bobbins that come with the espinner are quite big. So I have 3 of those, and I have a couple of bobbins that I got extra when I had my regular wheel, and I kept some of them. So, but then they'll fit on here. So I'll make sure I spin the other 2 plies on the smaller bobbins so that I can ply them on a big bobbin where they may all fit. So there we go. Happy spinning if you're spinning along.